The bar was a haze of amber light and laughter, but all I could see was her. Emily's blonde hair caught the glow like a halo, and her laugh, sharp, unguarded, cut through the noise like a blade. I swore my heart stopped when she looked at me, her green eyes glinting with something I couldn't name. We were just friends. That's what I told myself every time my pulse raced at her touch, every time I caught myself staring too long. Emily Harper was straight, painfully, stubbornly straight, and I, Riley Voss, was the fool who couldn't let go of hope. It was a Friday night in Brooklyn, the kind of night where the city hums with possibility. We'd been roommates for 2 years, sharing a cramped apartment with creaky floors and a view of the East River. I was 25, a graphic designer with a penchant for late-night sketches and black coffee. Emily, 24, was a law student, all sharp wit and relentless ambition. She was the golden girl, the one who walked into a room and made everyone feel like they'd been waiting for her. I was the shadow, the one who lingered in her orbit, content just to be near. That night, we were at our favorite dive bar, the Rusty Anchor, a place with sticky tables and a jukebox that only played Springsteen. Emily was on her third whiskey sour, her cheeks flushed, her laugh louder than usual. I was nursing a beer, trying not to notice how her knee brushed mine under the table. "You're quiet tonight, Ree," she said, nudging my shoulder. Her voice was warm, teasing. "What's up? Got a hot date you're not telling me about?" I snorted, rolling my eyes. "Yeah, right. My love life's a desert, Em. You know that." She grinned, leaning closer. Her perfume, something soft like lavender and vanilla, hit me like a punch. "You're too picky. That's your problem," says the girl who's dated half of NYU. I shot back, smirking to hide the ache in my chest. "Not half." She laughed, tossing her hair. "Maybe a quarter." I wanted to argue, to tell her she deserved better than the parade of frat boys and wannabe lawyers who never saw her for who she was. But I didn't. I never did. Instead, I took a sip of my beer and watched her, memorizing the way her lips curved around the rim of her glass. The bar was packed, the air thick with cigarette smoke and the hum of conversation. A guy at the bar was eyeing Emily, and I felt a familiar twist of jealousy. She didn't notice him. She never did. That was the thing about Emily. She was oblivious to her own gravity, the way she pulled people in without trying. "So," she said, turning back to me, her eyes bright. "What's your type anyway? You never talk about it." I froze, my heart thudding. "I don't know. Someone real. Someone who gets me." She tilted her head, studying me like I was a puzzle. "That's vague as hell, Ree." "Yeah, well." I shrugged, my throat tight. "It's hard to explain." She didn't push, just sipped her drink, her gaze lingering on me a second too long. I wondered if she could hear my heartbeat, loud as it was. I wondered if she knew. The night wore on, and the drinks kept coming. Emily was tipsy now, her movements looser, her laughter brighter. She dragged me to the jukebox, insisting we play Dancing in the Dark. As the song started, she grabbed my hand, pulling me into a clumsy dance in the middle of the bar. Her fingers were warm, her grip firm, and I couldn't breathe. "You're a terrible dancer," she teased, spinning me under her arm. Says the girl who's stepping on my toes. I shot back, but I was grinning like an idiot. We stumbled back to our table, breathless and laughing. She collapsed into her chair, her knee pressed against mine again. This time, she didn't move it. "Okay, truth or dare," she said suddenly, her eyes gleaming with mischief. I groaned. "We're not in high school, Em. Come on, humor me." She leaned in, her breath warm against my cheek. "Truth." I hesitated, my mind racing. "Fine. What's the worst date you've ever been on?" She laughed, throwing her head back. "Oh, God. This guy, Chad, took me to a monster truck rally. Thought it was romantic." I snorted. "Chad." Of course his name was Chad. "Your turn," she said, pointing at me. Truth. I swallowed hard, the whiskey making me reckless. Why do you always date guys who suck? Her smile faltered, just for a second. I don't know. Maybe I'm scared of picking the wrong one. The air shifted, heavy with something unspoken. I wanted to ask what she meant, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I said, "Your turn." "Dare," she said, her voice low, daring. I smirked, trying to keep it light. "I dare you to sing karaoke. Right now." She gasped, clutching her chest dramatically. "You monster." But she did it. She grabbed the mic and belted out a terrible rendition of Sweet Caroline, the whole bar cheering her on. I watched her, my chest tight with something I couldn't name. She was fearless, radiant, untouchable, and I was falling apart. When she came back to the table, she was flushed, her eyes sparkling. "Your turn, Ree."
Dare.
I shook my head.
No way.
"I'm not singing." "Chicken." She leaned closer, her voice dropping.
Fine.
"I dare you to tell me a secret. Something you've never told anyone." My heart stopped. The bar faded away. The noise, the people, everything. It was just her, her green eyes locked on mine, waiting. I could have lied, made something up. But the whiskey, the night, it was too much. "I'm in love with someone," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "And she doesn't know." Emily's eyes widened, just a fraction.
Who?
I couldn't answer. I couldn't breathe. The truth was right there, clawing its way out, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. The silence stretched between us, thick and electric. Emily's question hung in the air. Who? And I felt like I was teetering on the edge of a cliff. My heart was a traitor, pounding out the truth I couldn't say. "Ree," she said softly, her hand brushing mine on the table. "You okay?" I forced a smile, my voice rough.
Yeah.
Just too much whiskey, maybe. She didn't buy it. I could see it in her eyes, that sharp, lawyer brain focus kicking in. But she didn't push. Instead, she leaned back, sipping her drink, her knees still pressed against mine. The contact burned, a quiet fire I couldn't ignore. "Let's get out of here," she said suddenly, standing up. "It's too loud." I blinked, caught off guard. "Where to?" "Anywhere." She grinned, that reckless, Emily grin that always got me in trouble. "Come on, Voss. Live a little." I followed her, like I always did. The cool night air hit us as we stepped outside, the Brooklyn streets alive with neon lights and distant sirens. Emily looped her arm through mine, pulling me close as we walked. Her warmth seeped into me, and I tried not to think about how perfectly she fit against my side. We ended up at a quiet park by the river, the city skyline glittering across the water. The grass was damp under our sneakers, and the air smelled of rain and possibility. Emily flopped onto a bench, tugging me down beside her. "Stars are out," she said, tilting her head back. "You ever just look at them?" I glanced up, but all I could see was her. The way her hair fell in soft waves, the way her lips parted slightly as she breathed. "Yeah, I lied. Sometimes." She turned to me, her expression soft, unguarded. "You're different tonight, Ree. What's going on?" I swallowed, my throat tight. "Nothing. Just tired, I guess." "Bullshit." She nudged my shoulder, her voice gentle but firm. "You're my best friend. I know when you're lying." Best friend. The words stung, even though they were true. I looked away, focusing on the river, the way the lights danced on the water. "It's not a big deal, Em." "Then tell me." She shifted closer, her hand resting on my arm. "Whatever it is, you can tell me." I wanted to.
God, I wanted to.
But the words were locked inside, heavy and sharp. Instead, I said, "You ever feel like you're hiding from yourself?" Her breath caught, and for a moment, she didn't speak. Then, quietly, "Yeah, all the time." I turned to her, surprised. "Emily Harper, the girl who had it all together. Hiding? What do you mean?" She looked down, twisting a ring on her finger. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm playing a part. Like I'm supposed to be this perfect version of myself, but it's not real. I stared at her, my heart racing. You're the most real person I know. She laughed, but it was bitter. You'd be surprised. The air felt heavier now, charged with something new. I wanted to ask more, to peel back the layers she kept so carefully hidden. But before I could, she stood up, pulling me with her. Come on, she said, her voice lighter. Let's walk. We wandered along the river, our steps slow, our shoulders brushing. She talked about law school, about her internship at a big firm, about the pressure to be perfect. I listened, but my mind was stuck on her words, hiding from herself. What did that mean? Was there a crack in her perfect facade, a chance for me to see the real her? We stopped at a food truck, grabbing greasy tacos and sitting on a low wall by the water. She was quieter now, her eyes distant. I nudged her with my elbow. You're doing it again. Doing what? Disappearing into your head. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. You see too much, Ree. Only when it comes to you. The words slipped out before I could stop them, and my face burned. She looked at me, her expression unreadable. What's that supposed to mean? I scrambled for a lie, but my mouth betrayed me. Just you're easy to read. That's all. She didn't respond, just took a bite of her taco, her gaze fixed on the river. The silence was deafening, and I hated myself for saying too much, for hoping. We finished eating and kept walking, the city wrapping us in its restless energy. Emily stopped suddenly, turning to face me. Ree, can I ask you something? My stomach twisted. Sure. Why don't you date? Her voice was soft, but her eyes were intense. I mean, really? You're amazing. Why don't you put yourself out there? I laughed, but it sounded hollow. Maybe I'm waiting for the right person. She stepped closer, her breath visible in the cool air. And what if they're right in front of you? My heart stopped. The world stopped. Her words hung between us, heavy with meaning I was too scared to touch. Was she joking? Teasing? Or was there something more? I started, my voice shaking. But before I could finish, she grabbed my hand, pulling me toward a nearby bar. Let's get another drink, she said, her voice bright again. I'm not ready to go home. I followed, my mind spinning, her hand warm in mine. The night was far from over, and I wasn't sure I'd survive it. The new bar was quieter, a dimly lit jazz lounge with velvet booths and a piano player in the corner. Emily led me to a booth in the back, her hand still gripping mine. My skin tingled where she touched me, and I prayed she couldn't feel my pulse racing. Whiskey or wine? She asked, sliding into the booth across from me. Whiskey, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. You? Same. She flagged down a waiter, ordering 2 whiskeys neat with that effortless charm of hers. When the drinks arrived, she raised her glass. To secrets. I clinked my glass against hers, my throat tight. To secrets. We drank, the whiskey burning a path to my stomach. Emily leaned back, her eyes locked on mine, and I felt like prey under her gaze. So, she said, swirling her glass. You never answered my question.
What?
I played dumb, my heart pounding. Who you're in love with. Her voice was casual, but her eyes weren't. They were searching, relentless. I took a long sip, stalling. It's complicated. She raised an eyebrow, leaning forward. Try me. I laughed nervously, my fingers tapping the glass. You're like a dog with a bone, and you're dodging. She smirked, but there was something serious beneath it. Come on, Ree. I told you about Chad and the monster trucks. Your turn. I looked down, the weight of her stare too much. It's not that simple. Why not? Her voice softened, and I felt her foot nudge mine under the table. You can tell me anything. Could I? The question burned in my chest. I'd spent 2 years hiding this, burying it under friendship and late-night talks and stolen glances. But now, with her looking at me like that, the truth felt closer than ever. I'm scared, I admitted, barely a whisper. Scared it'll ruin everything. Her expression shifted, something raw flickering in her eyes. You think I'd let anything ruin us?
Us.
The word hit me like a freight train. I wanted to believe she meant it the way I did, but doubt clawed at me. She was straight. She'd said it 100 times, laughing off any hint of anything else. But then why was she looking at me like that? I stopped, my courage failing. It's just hard. She reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. You're my best friend, Ree. Nothing's gonna change that. The words should have comforted me, but they didn't. They felt like a wall, a reminder of the line I couldn't cross. I pulled my hand back, forcing a smile.
Yeah.
I know. She frowned, her hand hovering where mine had been. No, I said quickly. I'm just tired. Long week. She didn't look convinced, but she let it go, sipping her whiskey. The piano player started a new song, something slow and mournful, and the air felt heavier. I wanted to tell her everything, to spill my heart onto the table, but the fear was too strong. Fear of losing her. Fear of breaking us. Let's dance, she said suddenly, standing up. I blinked. What? Dance with me. She grabbed my hand, pulling me to my feet. Come on, it'll cheer you up. The dance floor was small, just a patch of worn wood near the piano. She pulled me close, her arms looping around my neck, and I forgot how to breathe. Her body was warm against mine, her breath tickling my ear as we swayed to the music. You're not a bad dancer, she murmured, her lips close to my cheek. Liar. I laughed, my hands resting lightly on her waist. You're drunk. Tipsy, she corrected, her eyes sparkling. Big difference. We moved together, the world fading away. Her hand slid down to my shoulders, and I felt the heat of her touch through my jacket. My heart was a drumbeat, loud and reckless, and I wondered if she could feel it. Ree, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the music. What if I told you a secret? My breath caught. What? She hesitated, her eyes searching mine. What if I'm not as straight as I thought? The world tilted. My hands tightened on her waist, and I stared at her, searching for a joke, a tease, anything to tell me she wasn't serious. But her eyes were steady, vulnerable, and my heart cracked open. I said, my voice breaking. Don't mess with me. I'm not. Her hand cupped my cheek, her thumb brushing my skin. I swear, Ree. I'm not. The music played on, but we'd stopped moving. Her face was inches from mine, her breath warm, her eyes wide with something I'd never seen before.
Fear. Hope. Truth.
And then she kissed me. Her lips were soft, warm, tasting of whiskey and something sweeter, something that was just Emily. The kiss was tentative at first, a question, but when I kissed her back, it deepened, urgent and hungry. My hands found her face, pulling her closer, and the world disappeared. When we broke apart, her eyes were wide, her breath uneven. Ree, she whispered, her voice trembling. Don't, I said, my heart racing. Don't say anything yet. I was terrified she'd take it back, call it a mistake. But she didn't. She grabbed my hand, her fingers tight around mine, and pulled me out of the bar into the cool night air. The street was quiet, the city's pulse a distant hum. We stood there, staring at each other, the weight of what just happened pressing down on us. Say something, she said finally, her voice small. Please. I laughed, a shaky sound. You kiss me, I'm still processing. She bit her lip, looking away. Was it okay? Okay. I stepped closer, lifting her chin so she'd meet my eyes. It was everything. Her smile was hesitant, like she wasn't sure she deserved it. I've never done that before. With a girl, I mean. I know. My thumb brushed her cheek, and she leaned into my touch. You don't have to explain. But I want to. She took a deep breath, her eyes searching mine. I've been confused. For a while. I kept telling myself it was nothing, just I don't know, admiration or something. But tonight, with you, it felt different. Real. My heart ached, a mix of hope and fear.
You're drunk.
Maybe you're not. I'm not that drunk, she interrupted, her voice firm. I know what I feel, Ree. I don't know what it means. I nodded, trying to keep my voice steady. It's okay. We don't have to figure it out tonight. She looked at me, her eyes glistening. But I want to. I'm tired of hiding. The words hit me like a wave, and I pulled her into my arms, holding her tight. Her head rested against my shoulder, her breath warm against my neck. For the first time, I let myself believe this could be real. We walked home in silence, her hand in mine, the city lights blurring around us. Our apartment was dark when we got there, the familiar creak of the floorboards grounding me. Emily flicked on a lamp, casting soft light across the room. She stood by the couch, twisting her hands, her confidence gone. Ree, I'm scared, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. What if this changes everything? It will, I said honestly, stepping closer. But maybe that's not a bad thing. She looked up at me, her eyes wide. You're not scared? Terrified. I smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. But I've been in love with you for 2 years, Em. I'm not going anywhere. Her breath hitched, and she grabbed my jacket, pulling me into another kiss. This one was slower, deeper, like she was pouring everything into it. My hand slid under her sweater, finding the warmth of her skin, and I felt her shiver. We stumbled to the couch, her laughter soft against my lips. You're good at this, she murmured, her fingers tracing my jaw. You're not so bad yourself, I teased, my heart soaring. We kissed until my lips were swollen, until the world felt small and safe, just the two of us. When we finally pulled apart, she curled into my side, her head on my chest. What happens now? She asked, her voice sleepy. I kissed the top of her head. We figured out. Together. She nodded, her breathing slowing as she drifted off. I stayed awake, watching her, memorizing the way she looked in my arms. The fear was still there, sharp and real, but so was the hope. For the first time, it felt stronger. The morning light crept through the window, soft and gray. Emily stirred, blinking up at me. Hey, she said, her voice hoarse. Did last night really happen? I smiled, my heart full.
Yeah.
It did. She sat up, rubbing her eyes. I meant it, Ree. All of it. I reached for her hand, squeezing it. I know. But the world outside our apartment was waiting, and I knew it wouldn't be easy. Emily's family, her friends, her whole life, they all saw her as the perfect straight girl. And me? I was the queer best friend, the one who didn't fit into their picture. The thought made my stomach twist, but her hand in mine was enough to keep me steady. Let's get coffee, she said, standing up. We need to talk. I nodded, following her to the kitchen, ready to face whatever came next. Together. The kitchen smelled of coffee and last night's takeout. Emily leaned against the counter, her hair a messy halo, her eyes still heavy with sleep. She handed me a mug, her fingers brushing mine, and I felt that same electric jolt from last night. So, she said, sipping her coffee, where do we start? I sat at the table, clutching my mug like a lifeline. I guess we talk about what this means.
For you.
For us. She nodded, but her expression was guarded. I don't even know what to call this. I've always been with guys. I know. I kept my voice soft, trying to hide the knot in my chest. And it's okay, if you're not sure. We can take it slow. Slow, she repeated, like she was testing the word. I don't want to hurt you. You're too important. The words were a knife, sharp and sweet. You won't hurt me, not by being honest. She set her mug down, crossing her arms. But what if I mess this up? What if I'm not what you need? I stood, moving to her side. You're already what I need. Just be you. That's enough. Her eyes softened, and she reached for my hand. How are you so sure about this? I laughed, a little shaky. I'm not. But I've loved you for so long. I can't imagine not trying. She pulled me into a hug, her arms tight around me. I don't deserve you, she whispered. Shut up, I murmured, kissing her forehead. You deserve everything. We stood there, wrapped in each other, until the coffee went cold. But the real world was knocking. Emily's phone buzzed on the counter, a text from her mom. Family dinner tonight, 7 p.m. Don't be late. She groaned, pulling back.
Great.
Perfect timing. I raised an eyebrow. You okay? Yeah, just, she sighed, running a hand through her hair. My family's traditional. You know that. I did. Her parents were old-school New Yorkers, the kind who went to church every Sunday and thought alternative lifestyles were a phase. I'd met them a few times, always as the roommate, the friend, never as this. You don't have to tell them anything, I said. Not yet. I know. She looked at me, her eyes fierce. But I want to. I'm done pretending. My heart skipped.
That's biggie.
Are you sure? No, she admitted, smiling wryly. But I'm sure about you. The rest of the day was a blur of normalcy and nerves. We went to a diner for lunch, sharing fries and stealing glances like teenagers. Every touch, every smile, felt like a promise. But the weight of her family dinner loomed, and by the time we got home, Emily was quiet, her fingers twisting that ring again. You don't have to go, I said, sitting on the couch beside her. I do. She leaned against me, her head on my shoulder. If I don't, they'll just show up here. I laughed, but it was strained. Fair point. She looked up at me, her eyes serious. Will you come with me? I froze. To your family dinner? Yeah. She bit her lip. I know it's a lot, but I need you there. My stomach churned, but I nodded. Okay. I'm in. The dinner was at her parents' brownstone in Park Slope, a place that screamed old money and older values. We walked in hand, and I felt every pair of eyes on us, her parents, her older brother, his wife, even the damn cat. Emily's grip tightened, and I squeezed back, trying to be her anchor. Riley, good to see you, her mom said, her smile polite but cold. Didn't expect you tonight. Last-minute invite, I said, forcing a grin. Couldn't resist the rose. Her dad chuckled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We sat down to dinner, the table heavy with tension and mashed potatoes. Emily was quiet, picking at her food, and I knew she was working up to something. Mom, Dad, she said finally, her voice steady. I have something to tell you. The room went silent. My heart pounded, and I reached for her hand under the table. I'm seeing someone, she said, and it's serious. Her mom's fork froze halfway to her mouth. Oh, who's the lucky guy? Emily's eyes met mine, and she smiled. It's not a guy. It's Riley. The silence was deafening. Her brother coughed, her mom's face paled, and her dad's jaw tightened. I braced myself, holding Emily's hand like a lifeline. Riley, her mom said, her voice sharp. Your roommate? Yes, Emily said, her chin high. I love her. The words hit me like a wave, and I forgot how to breathe. She'd said it. Out loud.
To them. And to me.
Her dad stood, his chair scraping the floor. This is a joke, right? No, Emily said, her voice breaking. It's not. The room erupted, and I knew this was only the beginning. The dining room felt like a battlefield. Emily's dad loomed over the table, his face red, his voice low and dangerous. "Emily, you can't be serious." "I am," she said, her hand trembling in mine. "I love Riley, and I'm not hiding it." Her mom's voice was sharp, cutting through the tension. "This is a phase. You're confused, sweetheart. You've always dated boys." Emily's grip tightened, her eyes blazing. "I'm not confused. I've never been clear." I sat frozen, my heart in my throat. I wanted to speak, to defend her, but this was her fight. I was just here to hold her hand, to be her strength. Her brother, Tom, leaned back in his chair, his wife staring at her plate like it held the secrets of the universe. "Dad," Tom said, his voice calm but firm. "Maybe we should listen to her." "Listen." Her dad spun on him. "She's throwing her life away over some whim." "It's not a whim," Emily snapped. "It's who I am." Her mom's eyes filled with tears. "Emily, you're our daughter. We just want what's best for you." "Then want this," she said, her voice breaking. "Want me to be happy." I couldn't stay silent anymore. "She is happy," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos. "We both are. And we're not asking for permission. We're telling you." The room went still. Emily's dad stared at me, his jaw tight. You did this to her." "No," Emily said, standing now, pulling me up with her. "Riley didn't do anything.
She saw me. The real me.
And I love her for it." Her mom gasped, her hand over her mouth. Tom's wife reached for her arm, whispering something I couldn't hear. Emily's dad pointed at the door. "Get out. Both of you." Emily froze, her eyes wide. "Dad." "Now," he roared. We left, her hand in mine, the door slamming behind us. The cold night air hit us like a slap, and Emily was shaking, tears streaming down her face. I pulled her into my arms, holding her tight against the world. "I'm sorry," I whispered, my voice thick. "I'm so sorry." "Don't be," she said, her voice muffled against my chest. I knew this would happen. We walked home in silence, the city's noise a dull roar around us. Back in our apartment, Emily collapsed onto the couch, her face pale. I sat beside her, brushing her hair back. "They'll come around," I said, hoping it was true. "They love you." She shook her head. "They love their idea of me." I didn't know what to say, so I just held her, letting her cry until she fell asleep in my arms. The weight of her family's rejection settled over us, heavy and cold. But I wasn't letting go. Not now, not ever. The next morning, Emily was quiet, sipping coffee at the kitchen table. Her phone was off, the screen dark with unread messages. I sat across from her, my heart aching. "You okay?" I asked, knowing the answer. "No," she said, her voice small. "But I will be." I reached for her hand, squeezing it. "We'll figure this out. Together." She nodded, a faint smile breaking through. "I know. I didn't expect it to hurt so much." I pulled her into my lap, wrapping my arms around her. "You're allowed to hurt, Em. But you're not alone." She kissed me, soft and slow, like she was grounding herself. "I love you, Ree. I mean it." "I love you too," I said, my voice breaking. "Always have." The day passed in a haze of quiet moments, watching old movies, ordering pizza, pretending the world wasn't waiting to judge us. But Emily's phone stayed off, and I knew the storm wasn't over. Her family, her friends, her whole life, it was all built on the girl she used to be, the girl she wasn't anymore. That night, we lay in bed, her head on my chest, the city humming outside. "What if they never accept this?" she whispered. "Then we make our own family," I said, kissing her hair. "You and me." She looked up at me, her eyes shining. "You make it sound so easy." "It's not," I admitted. "But it's worth it. You're worth it." She smiled, and for the first time that day, It reached her eyes. We fell asleep tangled together, the future uncertain but ours to face. The next week was a tightrope walk. Emily went to classes, her jaw set, her eyes tired. I worked from home, sketching logos with one eye on my phone, waiting for her texts. She was strong, but I could see the cracks. Her family silence was a wound that wouldn't heal. Her friends were another story. We met her college crew at a bar in the East Village, a loud, crowded place with neon signs and cheap beer. I braced myself, knowing they'd ask questions. Emily held my hand under the table, her thumb tracing circles on my skin. "So," her friend Jess said, leaning forward with a grin. "You two are like a thing now?" Emily smiled, but it was tight.
Yeah.
"We are." The table went quiet for a second. Then Jess raised her glass. "About damn time. You guys are cute as hell." I laughed, relief flooding me. Emily's grip relaxed, and she leaned into me, her shoulder warm against mine. The others chimed in, teasing, curious but kind. It wasn't what we'd expected. For the first time, I felt like we could do this, build a life together, out in the open. But not everyone was on board. Her friend Mike, a law school bro with a permanent smirk, leaned back in his chair. "So, what, you're gay now, Em?" Her eyes narrowed. "I'm me. That's all you need to know." Mike shrugged, but his smirk didn't fade. "Just seems sudden, that's all." I felt Emily tense, and I squeezed her hand. "It's not your business, Mike," I said, my voice calm but sharp. He held up his hands, laughing. "Chill, Riley. Just asking." The night went on, but the mood was off. Emily was quiet on the walk home, her hand in mine, but her mind elsewhere. "He's an idiot," I said, trying to lighten the mood. "Yeah," she muttered. "But he's not wrong. It is sudden. For them." I stopped, turning to face her. "It's not sudden for me. And it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else." She looked at me, her eyes soft. "How do you do that? Make everything feel okay?" I kissed her, right there on the sidewalk, the city buzzing around us. "Because I love you, and I'm not letting anyone mess with that." Back home, we curled up on the couch, her head in my lap. She was scrolling through her phone, ignoring the pile of unread messages from her mom. "I should call her," she said finally. "Right? Only if you're ready," I said, running my fingers through her hair. She nodded, but didn't move. Instead, she set the phone down and turned to me, her eyes searching. "What if I'm not enough? For you, I mean." I pulled her up, cupping her face.
"Ora verifi."
"I don't need you to be anything but you." She kissed me, hard and desperate, like she was trying to prove something. We ended up in bed, tangled in each other, her breath hot against my skin. Every touch felt like a promise, every whisper a vow. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but this, us, was enough. The next day, Emily went to see her mom. I offered to go, but she shook her head. "I need to do this alone," she said, her voice steady but scared. I waited at home, pacing, sketching aimlessly. When she came back, her eyes were red, but her smile was real. "She didn't kick me out," she said, collapsing onto the couch. "That's something, right?" I sat beside her, pulling her close. "What did she say?" "She's trying to understand." Emily sighed, leaning into me. "She said she loves me, but it's hard for her. Dad's still not talking." I kissed her temple. "Give them time. They'll see how happy you are." She looked up at me, her eyes bright. "I am happy, because of you." We spent the evening cooking dinner together, laughing over burnt pasta and cheap wine. The world outside was still there, waiting to challenge us, but in that moment, it didn't matter. We were enough. Weeks turned into months, and Emily and I found a rhythm. Mornings of coffee and stolen kisses, nights of Netflix, and debates over pizza toppings. Her family was still a sore spot. Her mom called sometimes, her dad didn't, but we were building something stronger. Something real. One spring evening, we took a trip to Coney Island, just the two of us. The boardwalk was alive with lights and laughter, the air salty and warm. Emily dragged me onto the Ferris wheel, her hand in mine, as we rose above the city. "Look at that," she said, pointing at the skyline, her hair whipping in the breeze. "It's ours, Ree." I smiled, pulling her close.
Yeah.
"It is." At the top, the wheel stopped, and we sat there, suspended above the world. She turned to me, her eyes glowing in the twilight. "I want to tell everyone," she said. "No more hiding. Not at school, not at work. I want the world to know I love you." My heart swelled, and I kissed her, slow and deep, the wind wrapping around us. "I'm ready when you are," I said. She grinned, resting her forehead against mine. "I'm ready now." Back on the ground, we walked hand in hand, sharing cotton candy and dreams. She talked about law school graduation, about finding a job where she could be herself. I talked about my art, about maybe opening a studio someday. Together, we planned a future, messy, uncertain, but ours. That night, we posted a photo on Instagram, just us, laughing on the boardwalk, her arms around me. The caption read, "She's my home." Comments poured in, some kind, some cruel. We ignored the hate, focusing on the love, Jess's heart emojis, Tom's thumbs up, even a hesitant message from her mom. The next day, we faced the world together. Emily told her law professors, her colleagues, everyone. Some raised eyebrows, but most just nodded, like it was no big deal. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just us, living our truth. One night, her dad showed up at our apartment. Emily froze, but I squeezed her hand, standing beside her. He looked tired, older than I remembered. "I don't understand this," he said, his voice rough. "But you're my daughter, and I want to try." Emily cried, hugging him, and I stood back, my heart full. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Months later, we moved into a new apartment, a tiny place with a view of the park. We painted the walls, hung our photos, made it ours. Emily framed that Instagram photo, hanging it above our bed. Every night, we fell asleep together, her breath warm against my skin, her hand in mine. The world wasn't always kind, but we were stronger. We faced the whispers, the stares, the occasional slammed door. But we also found allies, friends, colleagues, even strangers who saw us and smiled. Love was louder than hate, and we were learning to shout. One quiet evening, Emily pulled out a small box, her hand shaking. "Ree," she said, opening it to reveal a simple silver ring. "I don't know what the future holds, but I know I want it with you. Will you?" I didn't let her finish. I kissed her, tears streaming down my face. "Yes," I whispered. "Always." We weren't perfect. We fought, we cried, we laughed. But we were us, two women who found each other in a crowded bar, in a drunken moment that changed everything. And as I slipped that ring on her finger, I knew we'd face the world together, no matter what. Because love, real love, is worth every fight.